Zhang Yuxia, the real power behind the gun. The ownership has changed. Now this is where the real story of China's military begins. The new main character? Zhang Yuxia. Even his name sounds sharp. Yuxia evokes a free-flowing blade in the wind. And these days, folks in China's military circles are whispering that he's the true owner of the gun. Why? Because of one photo and one cold shoulder. Closing ceremony of the two sessions. As Xi Jinping, president of China, walked out of the hall, every top official was expected to turn and bow politely. But Zhang Yuxia? He stayed turned away. Didn't even glance at Xi. He was organizing his bag, gave a lazy side eye, and that's it. Scene over. In Chinese political theater, this is basically a silent coup. A non-lethal mutiny. People were stunned. Wait, did Zhang Yuxia just throw shade in public? Is this a serious power crisis for Xi? Of course, don't expect to find this moment in any official video. It lives in the realm of unofficial legend. And this wasn't just for show. Right after that, Zhang Yuxia's faction started crawling back out of the woodwork. Take Li Qining, former army chief, previously purged, now showing up at meetings again. Naval and paramilitary ranks began shifting toward what many call Zhang Yuxiaization. A major sign? The appointment of Fu Weidong as deputy commander of the People's Armed Police. Again, these appointments haven't been confirmed by state media, but everyone's talking. Here's the kicker: Fu Weidong was once a 4th Division commander under Zhang when he led the Shenyang military region. Now he's a lieutenant general in charge of paramilitary operations. Translation? Not just the army, I've got the cops now too. Meanwhile, Xi's own pick for defense minister, Dong Jun, still hasn't been allowed into the Central Military Commission more than a year later. He's military rank number 4 in China. Yet he's sitting in the back row at meetings, furiously taking notes like an intern. This is the Chinese political way of saying, you don't belong at the grown-up table. Even if Xi gives an order, the room's energy is more like, let's check with Zhang Yuxia first, shall we? And here's a military joke that's been floating around. When Xi visits a base, even a sergeant can't go with him unless Zhang Yuxia gives the okay. When Xi tours a military base these days, he looks less like a commander-in-chief and more like an indie film director scouting a shoot location. No cast, no crew, no lighting, just the director wandering around with a camera. So, let's be real. Zhang Yuxia holds the power now. Xi is no longer the man with the gun. Sure, he's still the chairman of the Central Military Commission on paper. But even inside the commission, he doesn't control who shows up. China's military is undergoing a silent revolution. Those who survived the purges are now the ones wielding the knives. Even the personnel power is slipping. They can take my army, but not my HR department. That's been Xi Jinping's last stronghold: control over personnel. Sure, all power may come from the barrel of a gun, but who hands out the guns? That's decided by appointments. And in the CCP, the scariest department isn't state security or the courts. It's the Central Organization Department. This isn't some dull HR office. This single department decides who becomes a general, a minister, a provincial chief, a judge, a prosecutor, even a TV news anchor. In China, the sword that hires and fires is held not by the police, but by the Organization Department. Xi knew this. That's why, right after taking office, he stuffed the department with allies from his Tsinghua University network. The key figures? Chen Zai, followed by his successor, Li Ganji. And Li Ganji wasn't just some policy wonk, he was also tight with Zai's wife, Peng Liyuan's hometown network in Shandong. In short, the Organization Department? Yeah, that's mine. Until it wasn't. Spring 2024. A bombshell reshuffle. Li Ganji demoted to head of the United Front Work Department. Shi Taifeng suddenly promoted to head the Organization Department. This wasn't just a desk swap. In Chinese politics, this is a red card. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a soccer game. Xi is the team captain. The ref suddenly benches his star midfielder, Li Ganji, and throws in a 69-year-old veteran Shi Taifeng from the opposing team's bench. The crowd goes wild. What the hell kind of match fixing is this? But the real plot twist? Shi Taifeng's resume. On the surface, he's just an old-school bureaucrat, a soon-to-retire technocrat. But behind the curtain, he's a Tseng loyalist. In 2001, when she was appointed deputy president of the Central Party School, Tseng was the organization department head. That job was literally Tseng's call. For 5 years, she served under Tseng, loyally scribbling notes. In today's language, Tseng's inner circle, certified. Plus, she's reportedly close to the Communist Youth League faction also. No fan of Xi. So now we have this, an organization department boss who's tight with both of Xi's main rivals, Tseng Qinghong and the Youth League. This is like giving the keys to your family safe to the old neighbor you had a blood feud with. And to top it off, the way this reshuffle happened was sketchy. Normally, a move this big would be announced during a major party congress or National People's Congress. But this time, it just happened, with no Politburo meeting. No warning. This is basically, hey, you're out. Wait, why? Because a classic backroom power shift, and you could smell it from a mile away. Again, no official confirmation that the swap was irregular, but the gossip says plenty. And with this one move, Xi lost his entire personnel power network. The Tsinghua clique, the Pengli UN circle, and Li Ganji's line, all gone. In Beijing's political circles today, people are saying, Xi's lost the army. Now he's lost personnel. All that's left is managing his facial expressions. Losing the organization department isn't just one job down. It means the collapse of the personnel engine behind the supreme leader. Because in China, the ultimate question is, who controls the person who hires the people who pick the people? Now, that controller has changed. Xi may still wear the crown, but he can no longer reshuffle his court. Worse still, he doesn't even know who's in his court anymore. And that, folks, is the real danger. The fourth plenum and Beidaihe, Xi's final test of power. Every good political drama has that one last scene. The king, surrounded in a quiet chamber, getting politely threatened by his own people. Well, the real-life Chinese version of that scene is just around the corner. The stage, the fourth plenum and the Beidaihe meeting. Welcome to the final showdown of Chinese elite politics. First up, the fourth plenum. It's the official meeting of the Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee. Normally, it's held once a year to set big-picture political directions. But this upcoming plenum, oh, it's got a very different vibe. Officially a routine policy meeting. Unofficially the Xi Jinping Accountability Convention. Will they push him out entirely? Will they let him save face with a soft landing? Or will they script a graceful honorary retirement? Everything rides on this one meeting. Now, the warm-up round. That's Beidaihe. Every summer, China's political elders gather at the beach town of Beidaihe for a little something called Vacation with Vengeance. An informal, top-secret elder council, where feedback is less kind, suggestion and more retirement notice. Here's the spooky part. No minutes, no press releases. But when the meeting ends, people disappear and chairs get reshuffled. Hey, where'd that guy go? Oh, he went to Beidaihe this summer and never came back. This year, the stakes are even higher. Rumor has it, Hu Jintao might make an appearance at the fourth plenum. Meanwhile, fellow Youth League alum Hu Chunhua is making waves, touring Africa, popping up in provinces, and getting a lot of media love. Even People's Daily, the CCP's front page, recently quoted an old Hu Jintao slogan: scientific decision-making, democratic discussion, rule of law. That's not subtle. In Chinese politics, that's code for Xi's one-man show has gone too far. And yes, the message came straight from the party's own media. Translation: the fourth plenum isn't just a meeting, it's the ring, and Xi is stepping into it. Now he has to choose. I'm done, peaceful retirement. I'm not finished yet, dig in and risk a takedown. I'll stick around just long enough to crown a successor. A staged exit with dignity. It's like the king standing before his ministers and generals asking, who shall wear my crown next? But here's the real question. Will Xi even get to speak at this meeting? Or will he not be invited at all? If Xi doesn't show up at Beidaihe, that's basically a formal pink slip. In Beijing, There's a new joke going around. If you don't get your summer break at Beidaihe, your political summer is already over. For the record, Xi's loss of control or the rise of the Youth League is speculative, based on trends, not official confirmation. Xi Jinping's retirement talk and the political meaning of grey hair. In Chinese leadership, even hair color is political. To be precise, black hair equals vitality, strength, authority. So dyeing your hair? Basically an unspoken party requirement. Then came 2024. Xi Jinping showed up in public with visible grey hair, no dye, no filter. People murmured, wait, is that a mistake? Someone's stylist just got fired, right? But the one who got fired was Xi's image as an untouchable ruler. Then came the real jaw-dropper. Xi Jinping reportedly said, I've been thinking about retirement. And of course, in classic CCP fashion, there's no official record of him ever saying that. Still, that's like a superhero standing in front of cameras and saying, I think I'm done saving the world. Of course, the line is always followed by, but if the villains return, I'll be back. Same with Xi. He said, I want to retire but only if the party and the nation allow it. Translation, I don't quit. You tell me to quit. Some think it's a clever trap, a classic bait move. Why? To flush out the opposition. By pretending to be weak, he's hoping enemies will step forward. Really? He's done? Maybe it's our time now. But everyone smells the bait. Nobody's stepping forward. Everyone's pretending they didn't even hear it. Instead, his opponents are thinking, sure, step down. We fully support you. Totally fine. Please let us help you retire. The whole thing is awkwardly hilarious. The ruler tosses out the retirement card to trap enemies, and the enemies start actively supporting the retirement just to avoid the trap. Here's the TLDR. He set the trap, and now he's about to fall into it himself. And since then, Xi's grey hair stays visible. He no longer appears in public with his vice-military chiefs. He doesn't say it out loud, but his body is screaming it for him. I think I'm really done. Collapse of the Sky Army, comeback of the Communist Youth League, and the Emperor with no clothes. Once upon a time, Xi Jinping had his Sky Army, handpicked, ultra-loyal, elite stars that shone like constellations around him. Li Ganji, Qin Gang, Li Shangfu, He Weidong, Miao Hua, Zhang Xiaoshong. The names alone sounded like a military Avengers lineup. So where are they now? One's gone missing, one's been purged, one got reassigned, one was demoted, and the last one? Even he doesn't know what his fate is. In short, Sky Army, by army. So who's filling the vacuum? Enter, the Communist Youth League. This was Hu Jintao's old squad, once powerful, later purged, then silenced for years. But lately, they're creeping back into the spotlight. The poster boy, Hu Chunhua. He's been globe-trotting in Africa, popping up in local visits, basically yelling, hey guys, I'm still here. And state media, totally hyping him up. But wait, there's more. People's Daily recently plastered its front page with Hu Jintao political slogans, scientific decision-making, democratic processes, and rule of law. Oof, that's not subtle. That's basically the party saying, bro, you've been hogging the power a bit, don't you think? Note, while there's a noticeable uptick in Youth League presence, some say it's too early to call this a full-blown comeback. And at this point, Xi starts looking a lot like the Emperor with no clothes. Back in the day, he probably asked himself, military uniform today? Nah, maybe something casual to connect with the people. Now, he doesn't get to choose, because whatever he wears, it's clear he's no longer the Emperor. His entourage? Gone. All those generals, aides, secretaries. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm out on a work trip. Regretfully, I'm flying to Bangkok. Can't make the meeting, feeling a bit under the weather. Everyone is quietly exiting stage left. In Beijing, new political soap opera titles are making the rounds. The Fall of the Sky Army, Return of the League, Chairman's Solo Lunch Diary, How I Lost My Own Army. Sure, Xi is still technically head of the Central Military Commission, General Secretary of the party, and President of China. But now, those titles are just that, titles, not power. Final thought, power comes from the gun, but without trust, the gun is useless. Mao Zedong once said, all power comes from the barrel of a gun. And in Chinese politics, that line is stronger than the constitution. He who holds the gun, holds the power. But here's the twist. What if the one holding the gun points it at you? Right now, Xi isn't controlling the gun. He's doubting it, fearing it, avoiding it. In just 2 years, 2 defense ministers, purged. An entire rocket force, cleaned out. Even his most loyal military appointees, all gone. Why? Can't trust them. Could be due to corruption, could be betrayal, could be both. But it all boils down to one thing. Will this guy listen to me till the end? Once that trust is gone, Xi didn't get stabbed with a sword. He started bleeding from the blade of his own paranoia. And let's be real. The People's Liberation Army, it's a peacetime military with no real combat for 40 years. They're not trained to shoot. They're trained to salute, recite speeches, and read Xi thought out loud. They pledge loyalty before they even pick up a weapon. But the sad irony, even those guys Xi doesn't trust. Sure, the barrel of a gun can prop up a regime. But if you don't trust the person holding the gun, you won't start a war. And your purges might plant the seeds of a coup. Right now, Xi isn't afraid of foreign enemies. He's more scared of his own army, his own shadow, and the staff taking notes behind him. Mao once said, all power comes from the gun. And now, history needs to add a footnote. But only someone you trust should be allowed to aim it. This concludes our deep dive into one of today's hottest topics. The power struggle between the Chinese Communist Party and the military. The weakening of Xi Jinping's authority, and the growing tensions within China's armed forces. Due to the CCP's tight control over internal information, some of the events discussed in this piece are based on analysis and observed trends rather than official records. Where applicable, such instances have been clearly noted for your reference.